My computer. You tell Max she owes me huge for that. Maxine? She can now pretty buying shoes without me. That was Sunday. Yeah, we had this already chat about that. I bought new shoes the other day and she's like, I love those. Where'd you get them? I'm going to Albuquerque. Tell me.
How we go ahead and start. How long are you saying?
I can wait a little bit. Usually 45 minutes to an hour.
Okay.
Is that okay with you?
Yeah, I'll come out because they have a test.
I could go longer if anybody's cash. So we're waiting for one more? Two more? Then we'll go ahead and get started. So good morning, everybody. My name is Jeannie Winchell, and I've come to see you guys before during orientation. Talked a little bit about SunPath. And so today what we're going to talk about is career readiness. Career readiness is just your resume, your cover letter, interview skills, and a few other options that we're going to go over. Okay, so you're all in the Surge Tech program, and you guys graduate when? July. Okay, you've already done clinicals? No? Getting ready to start. How many rotations do you have? 3 or 4. Okay, so where is the majority of your clinical rotations? San Juan Regional? Okay, so here's what you have as an opportunity. This is one of the things that I really like to focus on, and that is choosing where you land. Okay, and what I mean by that is people will choose to hop from job to job, trying to find that place that's really good for them, that they are comfortable, that they really like, and you just hop. Well, when you find something you really enjoy, you don't hop anywhere, you land. So let's talk about landing. One of the things I like to really get you to understand, good morning, is when you go on vacation, where do you go? Would you go to the Strip in Vegas, in the middle of Disney World, Disneyland, someplace just like totally nuts? Or would you go to a cabin in the woods? So where would you go? Cabin in the woods. Cabin. You go to the beach. Cabin. Okay, let me tell you why. Because what you have is something that is who you are. When you're on your own time, when you are comfortable and the most content, that's where you're going to go, right? Where you're comfortable. Well, that's how you choose your job, too. You choose your location based on where you're comfortable. So if you're not comfortable in the middle of someplace nuts, like, see, I would be in the middle of New York City, downtown, Disney World, Vegas, all of those. My husband would be absolutely fine in a cabin in the woods. And as I get older, I'm leaning a little more toward that cabin, but I still like the crazy. So if I'm applying for a Surge Tech job, I'm going to be looking for something a little more crazy, because that's who I am. That's where I'm comfortable. I'm good in the chaos. I'm good in what's going on and a lot of different things. Where if you're not, you want to choose something smaller, like an outpatient surgery or a smaller area, right? Where it's a little more subdued, where it's a little less nuts, everything's a little more controlled. There's not emergencies rushing in. There's not crazy people dying to meet you. All of those things. So that's the one thing I'm really stressing to you guys, is you start your clinicals, really focus on the where, because that's really important. Because as they're interviewing you during your clinicals, you're interviewing them. So you have an opportunity in these rotations to be a part of that team, to see how that team functions. Does that team function well? Does it work well together? Is it really biased? Can you work within that? And you guys are going to be able to find out where you want to land. Does that make sense? Because it's really, really important. Okay, I think we get our degree and we're like, yes, let's go find the job with the most money. And then we get that job and we hate it desperately. We have great shoes, but we hate it desperately, right? So find the job you're going to land in, not hop. The healthcare system is a very interesting system. It doesn't matter if you're in Farmington or you're in Albuquerque or you're in Chicago. They talk. And if you are really good at what you do, people will seek you out. If you're really bad at what you do and you hop, they will keep you at bay. So keep that in mind. It's a very tight-knit situation, and you want to pick what's best for you up front. Okay, so really dig deep into yourself and figure out while you're doing your clinicals which is most comfortable for you. Okay, so then in order to do that, we've got to find a job. Okay, so first thing we're going to do is go online. So you've done some clinicals. You know what you're looking for now. We found a landing zone. We're happy with this specific type. Now what do? Well, the majority of our world right now, as you guys know, is all about the internet. Everything is on the internet. You have to apply online. You have to do everything online, right? There's very little face-to-face communication anymore. So how do you go through that? Well, first of all, when you find a job, the best thing to do is really check the website. On that website and in that job description, you're going to find everything you need. They're going to tell you what their priorities are. They're going to tell you what their values are. They're going to tell you what their mission is. They're going to tell you everything you need to know inside that website. Okay? So really do your research. Something else that's interesting is, let's say you do your clinicals. What's your name? Jennifer does all of her clinicals, and she's decided that she's found an outpatient, actually, maybe she really likes in Durango. Okay? She's heard a lot about it. She's very excited. It wasn't one of her clinicals. How do you know if that's your landing zone? Well, you pick up the phone, and you call HR, and you say, hi, my name is Jennifer. I am going to be a graduate at San Juan College in the surgical tech program, and I'd really like to come do a tour of your facility. I've heard wonderful things, because you've already been on the website, right? I know your values, my values align with your values, and I'd just like an opportunity to come tour your facility. That puts your face in their setting, even before you apply for a job, okay? So what I mean by that is I'm working with a vet tech student right now, and she's wanting to go back home. So she's wanting to go to St. Louis. So I have some time off at spring break. Jeannie, how do I set up? I mean, there's no openings. I'm not going to be able to go until the end of May. What do? Well, what you do is you do your resume, you do your cover letter, except your cover letter is going to be a little different. Bless you. You're going to take your cover letter, right, and you're going to adapt it to setting up your own interview. How do we do that? So you seek out those locations. You're looking at website, doing some research, right, looking at pay. One of the things you want to look at is a website called onet.org. onet.org. You want that because that is what the Department of Labor uses across the United States. They use that to set wages. So if you decide that you want to go, wait a minute, Missy decides she wants to go to Alaska. That's where she's always wanted to go. Jennifer wants to go to Hawaii. Shelby wants to go to Washington. We've got these 3 completely different places, right? Well, you go online, you find those locations, and you submit your cover letter and your resume. And your cover letter is going to look a little different than what we're going to talk about in a minute. It's going to say things like, I'm interested in coming to meet with you and set up an interview or set up a time to speak and maybe tour your facility. You see where we're going? I'm going to be there from this time to this time. Is there any time in that time frame you have a moment where we can sit down and talk? One more time, you're putting your face and your person in the middle of an absolute internet white zone, right? It's nothing but applications on there. They don't have a face. They don't know you. Take the initiative. That's why the website and the job description are so incredibly important. That job description is going to tell you everything. The major job functions, the minor job functions, what days you work, what hours, everything. So, what's your name? Helen, if she doesn't want, maybe she has things going on in her life, she can't work weekends. Is she going to apply for a job that has weekends? No. So don't even apply for it. Because when you apply for a job and then you tell them, I'm sorry, I can't work weekends, how well do you think that's going to go for? Okay? So really be aware of using those to benefit you. Okay? So that's how we get our foot in the door. Make sure you look at that website. That website is huge. So let's start on page 3. Now, if you notice, none of these are obviously Surg Tech resumes. And it's because when I went to look, these were the best that I could find. I would recommend you do some searching as well. But what you have in front of you is just a CNA. CNA is going to encompass a lot of just really entry-level, basic pieces of the healthcare. But what we're looking at first and what HR looks at is the layout. They're going to look at the layout of your page first. So we don't want Denver Broncos insignia on there. We don't want baseball insignias. We don't want Dallas Cowboys. We don't want Minions. We don't want the mud flap girls. You know, the girls with the wings are on the mud flaps. Got an interview or got a resume from an engineer one time. Master's degree in engineering. Mud flap girl. What are you thinking, dude? Don't want daisy chains around the outside so that it's got a border. Your resume is professional. Unless you're applying to an art school, different story. But you're applying as a surgical. In surgical tech, you are in health, the healthcare field. They're not looking at just how artistic you are. They want to know how professional you are, right? So it looks very boring, but it absolutely does the job. So the layout is the most important thing. What I want you to do is put that paper in front of you. Now I want you to all look at me. When I tell you to, I want you to look down at that paper and tell me where your eyes fall. Look. Your eyes will fall directly down the middle of the page every time, right? So when you do your resume, it should be equal. Not everything on the left, not everything on the right, but very, very symmetrical. Now, I don't mean it needs to look like a Dr. Seuss poem where it's, you know, centered down the middle, because I've seen those too. We don't want that. So you want to make sure that when you do, you set that up, that it's equal. Okay, you've got information on both sides of the page. So what you start with is obviously your name. Your name is going to be the biggest font on that page. Okay? Couple of side notes. Arial, Times New Roman. Those fonts are the most widely recognized by the American with Disabilities Act because they're easiest to read for everybody. If you use some other funky one, sometimes it's really hard for people to see. So keep that in mind. You want everybody to be able to look at it and not go, okay, well, I have to do that anyway, right? You want them to be really focused on there. You want them to be able to have that opportunity to give you the best results. So Times New Roman and Arial are the best. 12, anywhere between 11 and 12 fonts, also the best because it's the largest, yet the smallest you can put everything on the page. So now we come back up to your name. Bold, have it up there. And when you graduate, you will have, is it a comma ST? What is the initial? CST. I knew there was another one in there. So, right, you're going to have your name, comma, CST. Now, can you do that right now? Yes, you can. Because we're going to put down when you graduate the actual date so they'll know that. So, you have your name up there, CST. Underneath, I would recommend you find it on one line. Try not to stack it. It just takes up a lot of room, okay? That is not what you want them to focus on anyway, is your address. You want them to see your name and a few other items because you have about 7 to 10 seconds is all you've got that they're going to look at your resume. So we want to get the most bang for our buck, right? So we've got our name. So the first thing that's most important on that page is your summary or objective. That is in 2 sentences or less who you are. Who are you? We don't want to see things like a Martin Luther King quote or a Dr. Seuss quote, or I had a student that had the band Disturbed. I'm disturbed, you're disturbed, we're all disturbed. No, we don't want that either. So you want to have something, and I'll give you two different suggestions. So the first one is you. Seeking a career in surgical technology where I can grow and learn and be innovative and be an advocate for all patients. Just so you know, if you like what I say, you should capture that as I'm saying it, because I can never remember what to say again. Just so you know that. I'm going to party in the hall. Okay, so it's really important that you showcase you. Second piece of that objective or summary is to give you the opportunity to showcase the employer. So let's say you choose San Juan Regional Medical Center. Okay? What is their value? What are their values? What is their mission statement? That's where you've already been on the website, right? We've already looked that up. So we know that San Juan Regional is all about sacred trust and vitality and healing. Those are their values. So it may sound something like this. I am excited about the opportunity to become part of the team at San Juan Regional Medical Center because my values align with your values in vitality and healing. So now you've talked about you and you've talked about them. Because the reality of all of this is, in order to get your foot in the door, to get into that job position that you're really wanting, that landing zone, it's going to be about them up front. The employer wants to know, what can you bring to me? If all of you apply, so 2, 4, 6, 7 of you apply for the same job at San Juan Regional Medical Center in Farmington, New Mexico, and I'm hiring, I already know that all of you have received the same schooling, right? So I know what you can do because San Juan Regional is very involved in this program and all the programs. So I'm going to not be interviewing you for your skills as far as doing your job. I'm going to be interviewing for you. Because frankly, I can teach you and hone up on those skills that you might be lacking in as far as being a search tech. I can't teach you to be a good human being. I need you to come with that. So I'm looking at the team that's already in place on the surgical floor. And now I'm trying to see if you fit into that team. Right? Because I don't want any problems in HR, do I? No, we don't want any problems. I already know what problems they have there. So now I'm trying to see if we can get some good people in there, right? So that's where you guys having those clinical rotations is going to be phenomenal for you. Not only do you have on-the-job training, but you're in the middle of learning if this is where you want to land, right? So that objective is important. So you want to make sure that you have that up there and it's about you, because really the rest of it is just very analytical. It's just facts. So number 1, your objective or your summary. Now, if you notice, you might want to consider, I'm not recommending, it doesn't matter to me one way or another, but you might want to consider your titles being right down the middle. Okay? Bold, little bigger than, one size bigger than what the type is for the remainder of your resume. So if your resume is in an 11 size font, that's a 12. Or if it's in a 12, that's a 13. Just one size bigger and bold. Okay? You don't have to have lines under them. By centering it and making it bold, it automatically ties your eyes to that area. It draws you there. So the second thing you have on there is your education. This is not the manner that you're finding on your page. That's why I'm telling you in this order, because we want them to see everything about you immediately. We want those things to pop. Your education is number 2. Most recent first. Okay? So it's going to say San Juan College, comma, Farmington, New Mexico. And then aligned on the right-hand side of the page, July 2017. You don't have to have an exact date. They're just looking for a base. That's why you can put the CST at top, because you're being honest about when you graduate. Okay? So if you submit it ahead of time and you're trying to get your act together and be on the ball, as long as you have those dates on the side. Now, underneath San Juan College, you're going to put surgical. Are you guys going to end with an associate's when you're done? Okay, Associates of Applied Science, comma, Surgical Technology. Okay, now you have two options. One, you can just go ahead and move on to any additional schooling. My recommendation is you don't put your grade point average unless it's a 4.0. It really is not the end all be all. It's not the breaking point if you don't have it on there. But if you have a 3.4, 3.6, as great as that is, that's not what they don't see a 4.0. So it's just better to not have it on there. I'm just giving you guys a heads up. Okay, from HR, 10 years doing HR, it's just not, it's not the most important thing on there. Now, if you have additional schooling, maybe you've gotten your phlebotomy or your CNA certificate, or you have another associate's in some other area, or a bachelor's, you want to put that next, in order, most recent to most farthest away, okay? Now, you can do two things. You can, under each one of those, add those certificates or licenses, okay? So you're going to be taking the CST license, right, when you're done. Have you guys already set those up, or it's going to be in July, August sometime? So you can put that on there, right under where you had Associates of Applied Science, right? You can put licensure, certificate, whatever that piece is, August 2017, because that's what the employer is going to want to know. Most employers understand that you are applying for a job, you've just finished school, and you've taken the license. And so they can go online just like I can to verify if you've actually completed it, right? You guys know that. You can go on and look that up. So you can put that there, or underneath education, you can create a separate title that says license/certification. So that's your choice. However you want to highlight that. If you have some certifications, maybe you can set it up in bullet points like 3 and 3. I've got my ACLS, BLS, PALS, CPR, CST certification, whatever those are. Always make sure, though, in a resume and a cover letter that you spell those out. Other than CPR, that's the one thing that everybody knows around the world what it means. So you don't need to spell out cardiopulmonary resuscitation. It can just be CPR, okay? The rest you need to stretch out. So your CST license needs to be, what does that stand for? There you go. Certified Surgical Technologist. There you go. Make sure you have that on there. Okay, you want to absolutely spell those out. Here's why. Because in a larger hospital like Gerald Champion and Alamogordo, like San Juan Regional here, like Presbyterian in Albuquerque, Mercy in Durango, there may be a team that does your interview and looks at your resume, and it could be Joe from janitorial, it could be Bob from engineering, it could be Susie from the kitchen, it could be somebody from hospitality. They create a team so they can get the most well-rounded. They may not understand what all of those are, okay? So out of respect and to make it the best opportunity for you, always stretch that out, okay? So now you have your objective in your education, and we talked about your certification and licensure. The next one, and the most important one, is your skills. Skills. This is where you have the opportunity to really highlight those areas you want them to know about. Now, obviously, in the surge tech world, you have the basic things that you learn, right? You have the baseline of learning. Maybe when you finish your clinicals, and this is going to happen in your clinicals, when you work in your clinicals, you're going to learn a little bit more than that baseline. Maybe you're working in an acute hospital setting. So you're working on the surge floor at San Juan Regional where it's really busy. Maybe you're working, maybe your clinical is at Presbyterian in Albuquerque. Is that going to make a bigger difference than having done an outpatient orthopedic here versus Presbyterian ER, surgical floor? Absolutely use that. So any machines you've used, any techniques you learn, those need to go in there because those are always something special. Now, here we go back to the website and the job description, okay? In the job description, it's going to tell you, here are your major job functions and your minor job functions. So you want to make sure that you highlight those major job functions underneath those skills. So you need to know how to do, give me some things that are very important in being a surge tech. I'm sorry? Passing instruments, okay. Sterilizing technique, right? Right? Aware of what surgery is occurring so you know what to anticipate for the surgeon. Okay. You're talking about all of those things need to be in there. Because if that's what is most important in that major job function, that's what you want in there. Because a lot of big locations and big employers have a software, okay? So if you apply at San Juan Regional, and there are 500 little open boxes you have to fill in, right? And you know 450 of them. Maybe 50 of them don't apply to you, or you don't have an answer for it, so you leave 50 open. And maybe the rule of thumb for that software is you have to complete 480 boxes. It won't even move you forward to a human being. It won't even spit out your application to somebody else. Always fill in all the boxes. Always, always, always. I don't know, unknown, not applicable. Always fill out the boxes because that's your first step in, okay? Next step when it comes to applications. We talk about your name on the top, have to have a phone number and an email, right? If your email address could potentially be inappropriate, I like big butt 69, it won't move. And I've seen that email, okay? I am hot, are you? That was a 60-year-old woman who just gave me her application this semester. It's the most disturbing thing I've ever seen in my life, but it's real. Now, will that move through? No. At San Juan Regional, that email will stop you before you even get going. Your email should be jeannie.winchell@yahoo.com. Right? What's your name?
Megan.
What's your last name?
Yes.
Megan.yazzie@gmail.com. That's fine. The best thing for you is your first name, a dot, and your last name. And the reason that is that's who they're going to look for. And if it's easy for them to note that that's your first name and that's your last name and now I can email you, you want to make it easy for them. Okay? What I'm saying is that software will not recognize that. It will throw you out as inappropriate and you don't even have a chance. So I'm letting you know now. That's your email. Okay? So now we're back to your skills. It's also going to start searching for buzzwords. Those words are going to come from that job description. It's seeking them out. Interpersonal communication, cultural diversity, teamwork, patient advocate, compassionate, flexible, adaptable, self-motivated, conflict resolution. Okay? Look for those because those are those words it's going to look for, and every time it sees one of them, you get another check mark or another bonus, and it moves your application through that software through a non-human movement. Okay? So know that. As crazy as that sounds, that's what happens. So really use that website and that job description to benefit you. Okay? So those are your skills. No more than 12. 6 and 6. Never more than 12. If you notice by the time you get to skills, where's it at? Right in the middle of the page. So that is your opportunity to really highlight beyond the general skills that that hospital or that employer knows you're getting as a surge tech. They know you have to, in order to pass to get your certificate, your degree, you have to do so much. In order to pass and get your license, you have to know so much, right? Okay, this is where you have that opportunity to talk about you. Remember, I can train you on skill base. I can train you in an operating room, in a surgery, how to pass or how to hand to me this specific surgeon. But I can't teach you how to be a good human being and go, quit being a, right? You don't want to do that to a doctor, and especially a surgeon. been a little bit on the arrogant side sometimes. I know you all are shocked. So you want to have that opportunity to show those skills as a human being. Okay? You're bilingual. You're multilingual. You want those in there. That makes a difference. Okay? That's where you showcase that area. Because that's about where they're going to stop usually. They're going to search for certain things. Okay, yep, she's done it. Yes, he graduated. Yes, we've got some skills. Okay, layout is great. Moving on to step 2. You've made it to the first step. You've got through that part. Okay? So those skills are your opportunity to really use that job description. No less than 8, no more than 12. 4 and 4, 6 and 6, never an uneven number. Never, never, never. I can't tell you why it makes a difference, but in the Society for Human Resources Management, that was one of the things I learned when I was in HR is HR people don't like grammar issues, they don't like spelling problems, and they hate uneven. It's all about the layout. Is this even? Did you take the time to make it look good? Right? So that's important. Now the next thing would normally be your work experience, right? But it's not. It's your clinical experience. So you have your objective, your education, your license and your certification, your skills, and now number 5 is your clinical experience. You're going to set it up just like it looks like in a work experience. San Juan Regional Medical Center, Farmington, New Mexico, May 2017, April 2017, okay? Underneath, surgical floor, outpatient surgery, whatever area you worked, and then in the parentheses, you want to add the hours. For you guys in school, this is imperative. Really use that. It shows the amount of hours you've been there, okay? I've been there 120 hours, 160 hours, 180 hours, 250, whatever it is. Add that in there. And then that's it.
You said area and being like working.
So you have where you have the school or the employer, and then underneath it, the area for which you work. Which department did you work in? Okay? Did you work in outpatient surgery? Did you work in inpatient? Did you work for an orthopedic surgeon? Did you work for very, very specific area? Now, if you worked in that hospital or that setting in multiple areas, comma them, put them all in there. But add at the end of that second line the amount of hours in parentheses that you worked. Okay? Because you guys aren't getting paid for that. Yeah, I get it at school. But what that shows is your integrity and your engagement in that area. And then they also know where you've worked, what you're doing. Okay? So then you'll do all 3, just like that. You don't need to include what that is because they know what that is. And you've also included that up in the top as part of your skills. That's where what you've learned that might be a little extra than baseline, okay? Put that in your skills. Okay? So there's your clinical experience. Now, your work experience is next. How many in this room have already worked in a healthcare setting? That's the only thing that needs to go in there. If you do not have experience in a healthcare setting, don't put it in there. Okay? Because they're only looking for what you've done in healthcare. That's why your clinical experience is so incredibly important to have it stand out. Now, if you want to submit, so San Juan Regional is going to ask you, so Shelby, you haven't worked in healthcare before. So they're going to ask you when they get to that interview, can you please tell us what your complete, and you'll probably put it in your application, your online application anyway, but can you please tell us what your complete work history is? So you can write in there, complete work history available upon request. Okay? If what you've done in the past is not applicable at all to where you're landing, you can put that. Work history available upon request. Complete work history. Now, here's something interesting. How many resumes do you have? One? No. You could have 40. You will always have one original. So you're going to have this resume that may have every place you've ever worked, your references on there. You need to have 3, everything that's in there, all your schooling, even high school. Because on your resume, you didn't hear me say put high school. Do you know why? They don't want it. Why? Because you're in college. In order to make it into college, you have had to have a diploma or a high school equivalency, a GED. You can't get into college, into the Surge Tech program, without one of those, can you? So now here's the other reason why. It's discrimination. Shelby, I'm going to pick on you. You're 21, almost. You're 20, 19. Goodness gracious, that's right, I forget. You're younger than Zachary. So Shelby's 19. Shelby and I applied for a job. And we put when we graduated. I'm not telling you when because it's way older than you, probably most of you. So put down our ages. They know how old we are. Depending on who it is, they may look at that and go, she's just 19. She doesn't have any life experience. Oh, Jeannie's 47, almost 48. And she's worked in the hospital and she's worked here. Who are they going to choose? Do not put anything out there that would cause them to discriminate. It's not necessary. It doesn't matter when you graduated. All it matters is you graduated with a certificate needed to do the job. Period. Yes?
What if you were a dual credit student for like 2 years in high school? Would you have to put dual credit?
No, don't put any high school. What you would do is put that college piece. That's it. Okay? Do you understand that? The law, employment law says there is a list, and in your packet there's a list of questions. I just put in a few that should not be asked of you in an interview. How old you are you married, are you pregnant, are you going to have children, what is your religion, are you transgender, what ethnic background are you, all of those. It doesn't matter one bit, any of those. Did you get the credentials necessary for the job? And can you do the job? And are you willing and able physically and mentally to do the job? That's all we care about. That's all they should care about. Unfortunately, they don't. They always have to add more and more and more things to try and draw that information out. So putting your graduation on there from high school isn't even necessary. Okay? Okay. So we have work experience. Do you have any questions on why you shouldn't put your work experience? Does that make sense to you? Okay? So then underneath that, you're going to have references available upon request. Because the reality is, folks, your references are just them calling your previous employer. And so then you still the same thing. Now, if you want to put those on there, you're welcome to, but let me give you a different option. Okay, Missy? That is a letter of recommendation. There's a difference. A reference is, I'm calling the city of Farmington because that's where Megan worked. She worked at the city of Farmington and she worked at the swimming pool and she worked there for 3 years and she was wonderful. She's phenomenal. And I'm going to call there to check her reference. Yes, did Megan Yazzie work for you? Yes. When did she work for you? From this date to this date? Would you rehire her? Absolutely. Can you tell me what she made? No. Can you tell me, did she have any issues with other employees? No. That's what most employers are going to do. They're going to tell exactly when you worked and are you rehireable. Unless you sign a document that allows that information to be released, they are not supposed to release that information. And most employers won't because they're afraid of the lawsuits. So a reference is that. Did you work here? Yes, they're just double checking the facts. A letter of recommendation is different. Somebody took the time and the care to write out a letter about you personally, your work ethic, your integrity, your abilities, there we go with those skills, those interpersonal skills. Okay? Perfect people are doctors, teachers, your professors. Those are great letters of recommendation, and those don't need to be on there. I'll tell you where we put those. Okay? But that's a reference. Most of the time, they're going to gather that information from what you put on your application anyway. It's just not needed on your resume. The most important pieces of your resume are What's your objective? Because they want to hear about them. What's your education to make sure that you actually have it? What are your skills? Where'd you do your clinicals? And then the last one you can add on there is any volunteer or affiliation. Now, I pick on San Juan Regional because San Juan Regional is here. So I know that San Juan Regional is huge when it comes to community, right? They are in everything in the community. They donate to Boys and Girls Club. They help with summer activities. They're all about the cancer walks and raising funds. They are all about San Juan College. They've donated a lot of money and time into our health science department. Okay? So if you volunteer, let's say you volunteer for the Special Olympics. You volunteer for coaching. You've been coaching upward basketball for years. You have gone on mission trips to Botswana to do something. Okay, those are big. Both of my boys are Eagle Scouts. Those things are important to put in there. Affiliations. Are you part of any surgical tech affiliations? Are you part of anything with a college? Sigma Phi, blah, 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 what are those? Okay, anything like that. You're volunteer at the hospital. Those things are important because those show your engagement into the community. The fact that you have integrity and you want to be a part of the community. So you want to put that. Okay?
Like current and past, like, I was in FEMA for high school for like 4 years.
Okay?
I need to put past volunteer.
No, you put a date. It's just a date. It's here's where I am and here's the date I was involved.
So it's Key Club specifically in high school.
That's fine.
So
If you want to do that, that's up to you because that's going to signify your age. If the Key Club is very important and they will understand what that is, and it's something that means has some validity to that employer, put that. If it doesn't, then don't put it. I mean, if they're going to look at that and go, oh, he was an Eagle Scout. I know what that is. Or, oh, you coached basketball for the Boys and Girls Club. I know what that is. I don't, not any disrespect to you, but I don't know what Key Club is. Just Kiwanis. So you want to just put Kiwanis-Key Club and leave it at that. And don't put a date. Does that make sense? Something else to keep in mind is mission trips, religious pieces. Both of my sons have been on mission trips to New Orleans to do different outreach programs and in Arizona. Put that on there, but you don't want to identify what religion it is. Okay? Just being honest with you. When you put that on there, then they want to know, oh, what do you mean by mission trip? And if they ask, your answer is just the facts. We went to New Orleans. We participated in cleanup of some of the down areas and okay, very vague. Because that should not be a deterrent to a job. But it also shows your engagement within your community and your things that are important to you. Okay? Does that make sense, guys? Okay. So that is your resume. Do you have any questions about your resume? So now, here's the interesting part. Let's go to page 8. That is your cover letter. You can apply at San Juan Regional, Cedar Ridge, outpatient surgery, the surgical center, ambulatory unit, and if you don't have a cover letter and just an application resume, they won't even interview you. The cover letter is some kind of new ticket to Willy Wonkaville. I don't know what the deal is, but this is important to look at now. So we'll look at your cover letter first, okay? Your cover letter is just like in front of you. In the old days, when some of us had to go to school and learn to type and all those things, you had to do a professional letter. That's what a professional letter looks like. So instead of your name stretched out across the top, you have it on the side. All the same information. Don't skip the information. You want your name, your address, your phone number, your email. Space, the date. Space, their name. Okay, here we go back to that website again. So, back on that website, under the job openings, You may have a name on who to contact, who the contact person is for the job. If you do not, you pick up the phone and you call HR and you say, yes, I'm applying for the surgical tech position and I'd like to know to whom do I address my cover letter. You want a name. Just putting to whom it may concern is acceptable, but it's not going to do you any good because now you're telling them your name. So that lady at the front desk in HR has your name. Yes, Megan Yazzie. Oh yeah, she called. She got Megan Yazzie called. Did you see that? She got your name. But now your name is floating around out there, right? There's your name. So it will say San Juan Regional. Attention, Jeannie Winchell, Susie Tipton, Joe Smith. Their address, space, dear Ms. Winchell, dear Mr. Smith. It's always Ms., MS, always, 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 never Mrs. Even if you know them. I know Shelby, but that doesn't mean Shelby's going to put on their Mrs. Winchell. The professional way to handle that is Ms., always Ms., MS dot last name, okay? Space. First opening paragraph is just a reflection of where you heard about the job. Seeking employment, found the job opening on Indeed.com, Monster.com, San Juan Regional Medical Center.org, SJRMC.org. Here's why they want to know that, because they actually gather that for marketing purposes, and every time you do that, that's a bonus for them, and they notice that. Okay? And they just want to know where you found out. So you put that in there. Seeking employment in a company such as yours, where I can grow. You're already working there, okay? In an area where I can grow, so this is your objective. Where I can grow and learn and continue my education in an innovative and sacred trust setting. Bam! Now you've got their values in your first paragraph. That's all that needs to be in that first one, right? Second paragraph is just going to be your education. Are you noticing an alignment off your resume? Then there's our education. So we have our objective and our education and our skills. And then the last paragraph is this one. Thank you for your time and consideration in looking over my application. I look forward to hearing from you and setting up an interview or a time to meet. Here is my phone number and email one more time, even though I put it up at the top. Okay? Because when they look at your cover letter, here we go, same as resume, they're going to look at the layout. Okay? They're looking at the layout. Second thing they're looking at is that first paragraph and that last paragraph, because the stuff in the middle, they already know. It's everywhere. Welcome to being in the medical field. It's like being asked your name and your date of birth 18 times before you even see the doctor in the emergency room, right? We've all been there? Yeah. Same situation. That first paragraph is going to tell them where you heard about it and that you're interested. The last paragraph is going to tell them how respectful you are, how much you want to be there. The 2 paragraphs in the middle should be no less than 3 sentences, no more than 5. Okay? Try to avoid run-on sentences. I had a student that had, on a cover letter, there were 6 lines, 1 sentence under skills. Now, you can do that, but that's going to make somebody really cranky on the HR end when they're looking at your grammar and your ability to create a perfect sentence, right? So break it up. Break up your sentences into skills. Skills based on you, skills based on the job, skills based on patient interaction, right? So you're just taking your resume and essentially duplicating it into sentences. Now, you notice on the bottom it says sincerely. I personally like respectfully submitted. To me, that's more professional, less gooey.
So respectfully submitted,
Comma.
the,
Comma, space. You want to leave space in there, Amanda, so that you can sign it. So you're going to leave space. Hold on. Type your name. Amanda, what's your last name?
Howlett.
Amanda Howlett, space, enclosed, colon, resume. You're going to print out all your copies, and then you're going to go back and hand sign every one of them. Because hand signing a resume or a cover letter when you hand it to somebody, not when you're uploading it.
Someone, what do you do there?
Not when you're uploading it, when you're handing it out, because we're going to talk about that too. You want to be able to sign those, okay, because it makes a difference. So that's your cover letter. No borders, no mud flap girls, no Dallas Cowboys, no Dallas.
Borders on who, though?
This whole thing came out with borders on it.
So you don't want those?
No, you don't want borders on there. It's not necessary. Or you also don't want, let me borrow yours. You also don't want to put this right here where it's color-coded, because I did that for your benefit, not for HR's. I've had, I don't know how many students put that on their cover letter. Don't put that. Okay? You don't need to do that. I know what you're doing. Okay? So, now you have a cover letter. Do you understand the concept of the cover letter and what needs to go in there? Right? Okay. So let's talk about, you've done your application, you've uploaded your resume and your cover letter. Job closes, today is the 13th of March, job closes the 15th or the 17th of March. What do? Just wait. Call to check the status. The job hasn't closed yet, so you don't call before then. Don't ever call before it's closed, okay? Because they get cranky about that. Now you can call after it's closed to check the status. Let me tell you what you're going to do. You're going to take a folder. Remember that folder I gave you at the beginning in orientation that says San Juan College, and if you didn't like what I had to say, you could throw it in the trash, and then you had a nice folder? Take a folder. Inside that folder, you're going to have a minimum of 5 resumes, 5 cover letters, your letters of recommendation, all original, and your licenses and certifications. Here's what else is going to be in there. And you're going to keep this. This is your interview packet. Because on our resume, remember we wrote, I picked on Shelby, we wrote complete work experience available upon request. So on a piece of paper, I'm going to write and document all my work experience as well as my references. And I'm going to have that. That's my go-to an interview packet, right? So I've got my packet together and I get on my good clothes and I'm ready to go just as if I were for an interview. And I applied today and uploaded. So tomorrow, as soon as they open, give them 15 minutes because some people are late. I know you're shocked. You're going to show up there at the HR office and you're going to ask to speak to whomever you found to send your cover letter to, right? So hi, I'd like to speak to Melissa Lane, please. My name is Jeannie Winchell. And you know that receptionist is going to go, Jeannie Winchell, oh, you called to get Melissa's name for your cover letter. Yes, I did. You must be Jennifer. How are you, Jennifer? You see what you're doing? Okay, Melissa's going to come out and she's going to say, you're going to shake her hand again. You've already shaken the hand of the receptionist because that's a smart move. No, the receptionist, the secretary, the janitor, the people that clean, because those are important. I'm sorry, you're late. No. For a search tech? No? No, I do. Yes, they do. Oh, okay, for my turn. So they do. So, okay. So now you have all of this and you're ready, and Melissa Lane is standing there. She's the one that's probably going to interview you. And what are you going to do? And shake her hand and thank her. You're going to be there 10 seconds. I just want to thank you for the opportunity to apply. I've applied. I just wanted to come in and say thank you. I look forward to the opportunity to work at this really great employer. I do have with me my cover letter and my resume if you'd like a copy now. as well as my complete history, my work history, and my references. And she'll take it or not. You'll shake her hand and you'll leave. Or she's going to stop you because you're already ready to go, and she may interview you right there. And that happens. My oldest son did that in Las Cruces. I got the mom call. Did I tell you this story? Mom, you were right. Because that doesn't happen from a 25-year-old man. So I hit the speakerphone and said, hold on. My husband was sitting there. You need to listen to this. I said, babe, what'd you say? You were right, Mom. Looked at my husband. Paying attention. That boy said I was right. That never happens at 25. A 21-year-old probably wouldn't say that. No, he would. Okay? He applied for the city of Las Cruces. He shows up. He's dressed nice, has his folder with him. Does the very same thing. I've applied for the position. I just wanted to say thank you. They interviewed him and hired him right there. Okay? It can happen. How long has that position been open at San Juan Regional? It could have been open for 6 weeks, 8 weeks, 12 weeks. And now you're showing up. They may take you right then. You never know what's going to happen. But always be prepared. Okay? So now you've shaken their hand and you've split. Thank you very much. I know you're busy. I'm going to leave. Now you have touched them physically. Emotionally, they're going to stand at that desk. Jennifer and Melissa are going to talk about you for a few minutes because they're going to be going, nobody ever does this. They submit a bazillion applications a day and nobody ever comes in. So Shelby's the only one that goes in. The rest of you just apply online. Who is automatically going to get an interview? Shelby. Because you took the extra time and effort to appreciate them and show that respect. So now what you've done in one 15-second exchange of conversation with somebody is you have shown them, not just talked about it or written it down, you have shown them every piece of those skills. The integrity, the interaction, the interpersonal skills, you've shown them all of that. Right? Think about that when you apply for jobs. Now, some of the things you want to think about is how you dress. Okay? The old days, men would have to go in a suit and a tie, women in a skirt and heels. Aren't like that anymore. You want to go in clean. I specify clean. I had a man show up in an interview one day for a field service position. He had on, does anybody watch Big Bang Theory? Captain Sweatpants? He had on sweatpants, gray sweatpants. He had on this, I don't even know what color it was because it had stuff all over it, and like a flak jacket, an army flak jacket. His hair was standing up like this. I swear he hasn't showered in a week because he smelled like he hadn't. And he sits down and I thought, I did evaluations. And one of them was appearance. Boy, everybody at that table opened up their little evaluation. We always waited to the end. Open up the evaluation, put a big old 1 instead of a 5. It was just like, how you look is clean. Show up clean. Minimal makeup. If you're a girl, maybe you may wear makeup. I don't know. Minimal makeup. I'm giving you a hard time. Clean. Very minimal fragrance. And especially in the healthcare setting, I'm sure you guys have heard that. The fragrance makes people sick. You got to be careful. And there's always going to be at least one who thinks whatever perfume or cologne you're wearing is just absolutely horrific and they're going to die from it, within 12 minutes. So, jewelry, minimal in an interview. Don't wear red. Red is the in-your-face color, and it is upsetting to HR. That's what we wear in HR when we're trying to scold somebody or fire somebody. They'll show up wearing red. You watch every time. Every time I had to go to court or had to deal with attorneys, I always wore red. Always. It's like this courage, this look of fear, right? But you don't do it in an interview because then they get all defensive. You want to wear very muted colors. Maroon is good. Even your dress, the colors in her dress are good. Grays, browns, blues, something that's flattering to you. Just be aware of that. Never bring your cell phone, any of that. Don't ever set that. Always have your folder, though. 5 resumes, 5 cover letters, in case they want one. And always offer. When you come in for an interview, you want to make sure you don't sit down until they tell you to sit down, because they get kind of like at church. You can't sit there, that's my pew. You can't sit there because that's where I sit in church. They're kind of like that in an interview. They have their little comfort spot, right? So you let them seat you. You shake their hand. You shake their hand like they approach you. You have people that shake hands like this. Shake hands. You have people that shake hands like this. You be respectful of how they receive that energy, okay? And it's kind of weird. I'm a shake your hand kind of girl. Not shake your, not like throw you over the table kind, but shake your hand. Some people don't do that. Be respectful of that, okay? Repeat the question when you're asked. That helps stop the So, can you tell me what your weakness is?
My weaknesses
And then she gets nervous and turns bright red. Having a heart attack at age 22. Let's see. So your weaknesses are this. So my weakness is honesty. Apparently, not everybody wants to know the truth. And so I have had to learn over time in my interactions with people that communication, and not just the exchange of words, but listening, body language, feedback, helps overcome that weakness of honesty in a negative capacity. That question is what I call a comma however question. They ask you a question, they want to know what your weakness is, but that's not what they want to know. What they want to know is, how'd you overcome it? Is it still a weakness? Are you able to conflict resolution, think on your feet, overcome issues? That's what they're looking for. Okay? Every question, and there's a bunch of questions in there, 2 different settings where they just, I'm telling you what they want to know. Tell me about yourself. That's the worst question. I'm going to talk about this in the meeting book because you guys have a test and I know you're so excited about that. So, Amanda, tell me a little about yourself.
what would you like to know?
No, wrong answer. Tell me, so, okay, let's play. You decide, you tell me, what do you want me to know about you?
I did learn more like team service and stuff and basic principles of work.
That's very good. It sounds something like this. Who am I? Well, I am a hard worker. I'm a recent graduate at San Juan College in the surgical technology program. I have been a student there prior to that and decided that I really loved healthcare, and that's when I went into it. I've done 4 clinical rotations on the surgical floor in a large hospital. I've done it in an outpatient setting. You talk about your education. That's what you talk about. Or, if you're so inclined, because we've done so much work on the website and our job description, right? We are absolutely knowledgeable about that company. Put them in it. Remember, they want to hear about them. Maybe the person that's interviewing you is the one that actually helped set up the website. You never know, right? Or maybe they're the ones that came up with the mission statement and the values. So, it might sound like, and so I will be graduating in May, or I've already graduated, and I am really excited about the opportunity to work here, because after looking through your website and doing 1 clinical, 2 clinical, 6 clinical rotations here, or this is where you have that opportunity. My clinical rotations didn't allow me the opportunity to come to San Juan Regional, but what I did was I came in and set up a tour. And here's what I found. Your values and your mission statement are absolutely correct. I observed sacred trust. I observed vitality and healing. That's how you answer that question. You don't start with, well, I'm 47 years old and I've been married 27 years and I have 2 sons. One is Zachary and he's 21 and he's going to school. Don't do that. Because once you open that door to those legal questions that they can ask you, they are going to step right in, right? We don't want that. We want to keep those doors closed because it's really none of their business who you are and what you do on your home time. All that should matter to them is your home time will not interfere with your work time. I can guarantee you that when I'm at work, I am 100% focused at work. Okay? Make sure if you have tattoos, they're covered. Okay? Not because it's something to be ashamed of, but it's just the way to handle that. Okay? I went through PTAC interviews. We did mock interviews with the physical therapy assistant program. There was a young lady that had hair that came down kind of like Megan has her around her neck. She had a tattoo on her neck. I never saw it. Just like you have yours. Never saw it. She got up to leave, and the way she turned, I saw it, and I was like, bonus, girlfriend. Never saw it. You have them on your wrist, just cover them. I have 6 tattoos. Can you see any of them? No. That's my business, right? So be respectful of that. Because remember, the people that are interviewing you have probably been there a long time, and more often than not, they're my age. They're not your age. They are older people who are still having a hard time with that internet, FaceTime, Snapchat, what did that lady say, right? So be aware of that. Do you guys have any questions for me? So before I answer one question, you've got my email address. If not, Devonna can give it to you, or I'm over in Devonna's office now. If you want me to look at your resume or your cover letter, you want to go through a mock interview, I'll set them up. Okay, just let Devonna know on the mock interviews or Maxwell, and we'll set them up. Okay, because I don't mind. I just went through 16 phone mock interviews with the PTAP online students. I have no problem with that, and it went very well. It was very helpful for them. Okay, yes, what's your question? Tomorrow, I will be here until, well, I don't know that I'll have time tomorrow. There's some kind of team building at the climbing wall at the HHPC, so that should be a hoop to watch. But you know what? Email me. Okay? I'm going to be out for a little over a week for some medical issues, but I'll be back toward the end of the month, and we can work it out. Okay? Okay, so we had already talked about this, but let's talk about it one more time real quick. Part of SunPath is the funding piece. And you guys are getting ready to graduate, so I know that doesn't affect you, but SunPath has funding available. So here's what may help you is, let's say you don't have the funds for clothing allowance. You open your closet and you go, I don't have interview clothes because I haven't interviewed in so long, I don't have them, and so I need some help because all my money is in school. Or I need bus passes, I need childcare. You're getting ready to do clinicals and you need childcare help. We have that as well. You just need to let me know what you need. We work really closely with the WIOA, the Workforce Innovation Opportunity Act, and that's throughout the state. So all 11 colleges, we can work together on that. So if you need funding for anything the remainder of the semester, maybe gas money to travel back and forth, you need help with scrubs or something of that nature, please let me know. We've also been working with the Achievement Center through the Kellogg grant, and they're helping our students out as well. Because you guys will have to do immunizations. So if you need help with any of that, let me know. Okay? And you have my card in your folder. Devonna also has it, and it's you guys can get a hold of me anytime you want. Do you have any other questions for me?
So, like one of the hospitals that are supposed to bring in or something, like research or the application. Whenever we do our application, just the first day, should we always put a resume?
Always do a resume and a cover letter. Anytime, so you kind of look at it as a package deal. Anytime you have an application, you always want to include those other 2 pieces, because it may have that information for them where they can look at your resume and see those skills. They can look at your cover letter and see where you found out. They can look, do you see what I mean? So you want to do that. So if you want to work on a resume prior to, because we talked about everybody should have one big resume, and then you may have a different resume for every area. And a resume for being a surge tech in a hospital setting. Have a resume for a surge tech for outpatient setting. A resume for a surge tech, you see what I mean? Because it's going to have different skills, different job description. That job description is going to be huge, right? Same thing for your cover letter. You change those and it's adaptable, it's fluid. It moves to whatever job you're applying for. Same basic stays in there. Some of the other is fluid. But yes, always take those as a package deal. Okay? Anybody else have any questions? Thank you guys for letting me come in. I really appreciate it. You know how to get a hold of me. If you need to turn in a resume, and most of you will when you do your clinicals, just let me know and I'll be more than happy to look it over. Send me an email. Can give you some recommendations, whatever you need. I'm more than happy to help. Otherwise, I'm over here in Devonna's office now. Okay? So I'm easy to find. Good luck on your test, guys. Thank you. I tried to stop it, but I was late. You guys have a great day. Thank you, Devonna.
Thanks, Jane.
We don't have to come back.